guys, this is Casey from Jeti USA here, and we want to address a few questions that we've heard on the phones from guys who've recently switched to Jeti and still want to continue using their PowerBox system. In this video, James will show you a side-by-side comparison between the Mercury SRS by PowerBox and the Central Box 200 by Jeti. After that, James will show you a very brief, basic programming for both the PowerBox and the Jeti system.
Hey guys, James with Jeti USA, Esprit Tech. Wanted to get with you today and talk a little bit about power distribution devices. At Esprit Tech, we're constantly getting phone calls from guys that are transitioning over from other systems. More and more of that's starting to happen with guys coming from Spectrum, guys coming from Futaba. A lot of these guys are already flying PowerBox systems, and their big concern is being able to transition to Jeti and still maintain their power distribution system that they're using. So we wanted to give you a basic rundown of how that works, what you're going to be doing, and then of course what your options are if you decide to completely remove that system and move over to Jeti. So what we've got in front of us is PowerBox's Mercury SRS system. It's a basic small power distribution unit, very similar in size, just a small amount larger than our Central Box 200. About the same number of pinouts and about the same option level. So we're going to give you an idea of how that sets up versus the Central Box 200. Both of these systems are gyro stabilized, the Mercury with a built-in unit and the Central Box 200 with a Cortex. Both of them are using two Jeti receivers, Rex 3s on the PowerBox and two R3 RSWs on the Central Box. Both of them are running two servos, so I'm going to give you some visual representation. There are some differences, of course. PowerBox is programmed through a small LCD that plugs into the box and a small controller that plugs into the other side of the box, where the Central Box and the Cortex are programmed completely through the transmitter. So a little bit different method of use there. Both of the systems are running on the single battery pack in this instance. Both are power safe. Both do have two inputs for two different batteries. You have a little bit different telemetry between the two, with the Mercury giving you only the GPS data and the voltage, where the Central Box is giving you the voltage, amperage, capacity, shorted output, signal strength. All of that data is coming back to the transmitter from the unit, as well as all of the data coming back from the Cortex. So you get a little bit more data with the all Jeti and Bavarian Demon setup than you do with the Jeti and PowerBox setup, but the job is similar. Both are handling power distribution from two receivers out to the servos. So we're going to go ahead and break it down, get into each unit a little bit, and show you exactly what we're talking about. All right, we're going to start out with PowerBox's Mercury SRS. You see, very simple setup. We've got two Jeti Rex 3 receivers, the PowerBox Mercury SRS with their LCD screen and 3-button controller, a couple of servos, and a Jeti PowerRV battery to run the whole thing. Even though we're using Jeti, it's a little different system than what we use on our own stuff because we're using the PowerBox. So the receivers are still communicated through the Device Explorer, and when you're doing a setup, you're going to need to make sure that either you're using the Rex series receivers, Rex 3 through 12, or on your standard receivers, you chose version 324 UDI 16. It's critical that you choose UDI 16. It is the only thing that the unit is going to understand, so it's the protocol that you're going to have to select in order to be able to communicate with their setup. So port 3 is where UDI 16 will come out of on the receiver. That's going to plug into the SAT1, SAT2 on the PowerBox unit, or RX1, RX2 on the PowerBox unit. And you're going to need to make sure that you set the PowerBox unit up for Jeti UDI. It will not speak EX bus, so you won't be able to do anything with the Mercury in the Device Explorer. But they do give you the 3-button remote and the small LCD so you can do the programming. On the unit, you're going to jump into the programming. That's holding the 2 outside button down for like 5 seconds. The far left button is the down navigation. The center button is the up navigation, and the far left button is the select. So I'm going to go ahead and first we'll go down, navigate down to our general settings and select it. And the first line in general settings is TX system. You move, select it with the left arrow, and you change the system by using the left or up or down navigation points. I've already got it set up for Jeti UDI, so we're going to leave it that way. Keep in mind, no matter how many outputs you have available on the PowerBox, whether it's the Royal or the Mercury, if you're communicating it with Jeti using UDI 16, you do not have the ability to use the other channels 17 to 24 of the transmitter. UDI 16 blocks those out, and you are only going to have access to 16 channels. So you won't be able to tie additional channels into a receiver or use that in another way. That's going to be very important to remember. Once you have set it up though with Jeti UDI and set your two receivers to UDI 16, you will have control over the model. One of the big things that separates them from us is how you program. So we're already into the programming menu. I'm going to go ahead and navigate through until I get to the one I want to get to. Don't forget, in the system, in the receivers, you're going to want to disable the failsafe. You're going to want to set to 10 milliseconds. You're going to want to set UDI or PPM mode to direct, and you are going to want to use UDI 16. Those are in your R3 receivers. You'll do all of that through Device Explorer. In their system, you have the ability to set the failsafes. You set the frame rate to 12 milliseconds on the Mercury. That's as low as it will go. And you have the ability to choose the type of battery that's going in. All of that is in the general settings for the Mercury system. I'm going to go ahead and continue to navigate all the way down to OK. I'm going to select it. That'll take us back into the main menu. If you want to change one of your outputs on the Mercury, so let's say something, the way it's plugged in is not what matches the channel assignment on the radio, you can do that by navigating up to output mapping. We're going to go ahead and select output mapping, and in this case we're going to go ahead and select servo B, and we're going to, let's see, currently that's set up on a rudder. I want to go ahead and change that, so I've selected it. I'm going to go ahead and use my navigation buttons to navigate that back to aileron left. Now you'll see both of those servos are on the aileron with no input from the rudder. So it is easy to set up. It's a little difficult because of how small the screen is to actually see what you're doing and how you're changing it. The 3-button controller is a little fumbly to navigate in my opinion, but it does work, and you will be able to fly it on the Jeti system. You access the gyro through the same screen and the same programmer. Everything that you do in the Mercury is done on that small screen. But you can see the difference here clearly between navigating on a small screen and navigating on a much larger transmitter screen. We're going to go ahead and step over now and take a look at the Jeti Central Box 200, give you guys an idea how we do the same thing in our system. Alright, now we're going to take a look at Jeti Central Box 200 and Bavarian Demon Cortex Pro gyro setup. Similar to the PowerBox that we just showed you, we are using two of Jeti's 3-channel receivers. This time they're the R3 RSWs. We're using the same Jeti Power RB battery. The only difference is we're using the standalone gyro in conjunction with the PowerBox versus, the PowerBox has the built-in iGyro setup. So a little different. Same basic packaging, same basic space that it would take in your aircraft. The big difference comes when it's time to make adjustments or program the unit, make changes to the unit once it's in the aircraft. Everything is done on the Jeti through the nice large screen. Makes it much easier to interface with the model, allows you to really see what you're doing inside, outside. Big difference, of course, here is everything appears in Device Explorer in this setup. So you'll see the two R3s appear, the Cortex Pro Gyro, and the Central Box 200. We're going to go ahead and start at the Central Box 200 just to give you an idea. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to reassign one of the output pins that's currently assigned on an aileron. So we're going to go down to our servo output mapping. We're going to go down to, I believe, pin number 2 is where he's got that at. We're going to go ahead and change that from aileron 1 to rudder. Once we've done that, now you'll see we have one rudder servo and one aileron servo. That's how quick. If I want to change that back, I just jump in, change it back the way it was. Now both of our servos are operating on aileron, no output on rudder. Very easy to do. All of the setups are very easy to do. We have Central Box videos. If you need more information on programming those, make sure you go check those out. And I do want to take a quick second just to give you an idea of what you'll see in the Cortex Pro screen. When you log into the Cortex Pro, the first thing you see is the firmware type, so you'll always know what revision you're on. You do go ahead and enter here what type of servo you're using, whether you're using analog servos, digital servos, and what speed those are operating at. Socket orientation is for the actual Cortex Pro itself, so that's whether it's upright, plugs at the front, upright, plugs at the rear. If you're going to change that orientation, you do so here. You can go in by selecting it. You'll see all of the different available orientations, up, down, right side, left side. It gives you all of those and makes all of those available to you for changes. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it upright front, how we had it. You have bank setup here for aileron, elevator, rudder. You have bank setup for single channel gain adjustment, which is really nice if you're in a more complex setup. You just dial into those, assign the channel or choose the channel, and give it a gain value. So it makes it really easy to make those changes on the fly. You don't have to continually pull out a laptop, plug it in, and make those changes. Everything's right there in front of you on a great big, in this case, color screen. So everything that we do in the Jeti, we try to make everything a really integrated, complete system. Allows you to see all of the stuff that's coming through. One other thing I do want to show you real quickly, let's go ahead and jump back into our Device Explorer, back into our Central Box 200 or CBox 200 in Device Explorer, is all of the telemetry data that's coming back to you from the Central Box itself. So you have two input sides, 1 and 2. Those are the two different batteries. From those you see your current voltage, current, and capacity. The other things that you see are the temperature and the number of shorted outputs in the system. So if you were to have a servo failure and pop the polyfuse on that specific output, it would show that and report that to you through the telemetry. You are getting telemetry from the Cortex, you are getting telemetry from the Central Box, as well as any sensors that you have in line, and all of that comes through a very simple integrated package. Well, this was a real quick look at the PowerBox Mercury SRS and Jeti Central Box 200. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Jeti USA or Esprit Tech on the Central Box 200 or Cortex product, and make sure you reach out to your local PowerBox retailer if you have any questions on their system. Thanks for joining us.